It's a new day, a new day. 'Cause I know that it's a brand new day. New day. 'Cause I know that it's a brand new day. Realizing my own strength, I'm keeping hope that lives deep inside me. I feel the sun on my skin, pushing through the greatness, 'cause I know that I can make it. Morning dew brings a fresh awakening. With the dawning of each new day, you can begin again. Like a flower springing up, reaching for the sun. You can begin again. Let your day begin. Chasing my dreams, making things a reality. 'Cause I know that nothing can stop me. It's a brand new day. I have a smile on my face, 'cause I know about His love and grace. Yeah. 'Cause I know that it's a brand new day. Living my life, trying to love everybody right. 'Cause I know that it's a brand new day.
What's up, Core of You family? We are the community of restoration and enlightenment. That is you, me, we, the family. So we are coming at you. What is this? The 21st of August. We are still safe. We out here in California. And yes, we can smell the lake fire and the Pyru fire. We are right in the middle of both of them. So y'all keep us prayed up. But we know we protected. And as my husband said, we can smell the fire, but we will not be burned. We are coming at you today about great stuff we need to talk through, y'all. Questions before, I'm going to say during, and all around marriage.
No doubt. Are you asking the right questions when you're considering your significant other? Are you asking the right questions? If it's marriage, if it's just a relationship, are you asking the right questions? And sometimes people feel like you're getting in all of their business and,
Yep.
what's are you being nosy? What's your business? What's not your business? But we found that as it pertains to relationships, I really don't believe, especially if you're talking about marriage, there is nothing that should be off limits. Everything should be put on the table. You should be talking about it. You should be discussing it. You should be trying to find some kind of common ground. You may not necessarily walk away. Maybe I've changed your mind or you changed my mind to feel exactly the way you feel, right? But we should have some type of agreement how we're going to address it, how we're going to interact with one another, how we're going to handle whatever the situation is. And we posted this last week, so we're just kind of going back and we posted it as a meme, so now we want to talk about it.
Right.
It's 9 questions, but there are a few more things we're going to add into those questions. So that's what we're talking about today. Are you asking the right questions or enough questions as it pertains to your relationship?
And I would even go further to say, if you are sexually intimate
with someone.
Yes, because that's where the spiritual communion starts. So if we're going to be real about it, when you start swapping
bodily fluids.
Like literally there is a spiritual exchange that starts to occur. So for me, that's where the questions should start. Because now, especially in 2020, when you're exposing yourself to so much emotionally, mentally, and physically by letting somebody into your space.
Right.
I mean, now we even got COVID-19, so I'm going to be checking everybody's spiritual temperature literally before you up in my space. I mean, this has changed the dating game. It's changed the rules in addition to what we were already dealing with.
No doubt.
So we have to be like confident enough to lay it out on the table.
Wow.
Right?
So let's get into it then.
Let's go
So
right to it.
as we posted it, the first question was, which is great. It's 9 here, like I said, but we're definitely going to add probably at least, I know definitely one more and maybe 2 more. But how do we handle conflict? That was the first question. How do we handle conflict? And it said the healthiest marriages or relationships involve respectful and honest communication. How do we handle conflict? My Uncle Joe reminded me of something last week that I didn't forget, but he just brought it back to the forefront of my mind.
Okay.
Is that when you're in a relationship with somebody, you both together face, a myriad of challenges, right?
Right.
Whatever, financial challenges, work, maybe people in your life you don't like. God forbid if there's a sickness, maybe with one of you.
Okay.
You're all of these challenges, right? Maybe somebody you don't get along with, family, something, right? You're facing all of these challenges in life. That's expected. But the one person in your life that shouldn't always be your common adversary is the one you're in relationship with.
Right.
That's the one person that shouldn't always be your adversary. You're supposed to try to work together. It takes enough for you to face all those outside adversaries.
Right.
But if you two are back and forth and at one another all the time, that's going to make facing the world and all those other problems so difficult. So how do you handle conflict?
Right. And I think what I would add to that is, I love when you say the best part of being in a relationship is that now you don't have to go through things alone.
Right.
So it should feel like an asset, not a liability. If you are combined with somebody, it should feel like, oh, now we have made each other's best better. Like, let's do this. Like, now we can do this together. It shouldn't feel like, wow, why is it such a struggle? So
it most certainly should be a blessing and not a burden, right?
Exactly.
Not the one that you're laying down with, calling my boo or my bae or my husband, my wife, my girlfriend, my boyfriend. They should be more, I like that. They're bringing things to the table. Like, I love the song by Neo, Miss Independent, I think it was.
Right.
He said, the woman he was talking about, he said, she's got this on her own. I'm just here to kind of really add to the table. He was like, she don't necessarily need me, but I love the way that she can submit to us, not me, but to us and the relationship. So that's what I'm saying. How do you handle the conflict? And we have ways that we handle conflict. And if you're going through something, you can most certainly reach out to us, TheCoreofU. If you have problems, we have different tips and different applications and different things that you can do to handle conflict, because there is a such thing as healthy arguments and disagreements. There's also unhealthy arguments and disagreements, right? Because you're individuals, bringing your individualism together in a relationship, you still want to maintain who you are. You don't want to lose sight of who you are, right?
Right. You got to be authentic.
You want to be authentic, but there's going to be some compromise sometimes that may cause you to step back and let the other person lead or do, or we're going to do what you want to do this time. Sometimes, and fellas and ladies, I brought this to the conversation with us when we first got together, because I was tired of hearing some of the older men that I'll be around say, happy wife, happy life. That's all they said. Happy wife, happy life. And I'm like, well, listen, I want to be happy too. It shouldn't always be about her happiness. It should be about our happiness, right?
Right.
So how do you handle your conflict? That's the question. That's a sit down. That's a sit down at the table.
Yeah, we
moment
always
you should
say
have,
in
right?
times of peace, plan for war. Just have it up. So the main takeaway is there will be conflict. It should be healthy if it is, and it shouldn't be every day and often.
Right.
You shouldn't be sleeping with the enemy.
No doubt.
So definitely.
So that's number one. Number two was, is there a drug, alcohol, or gambling problem? The earlier you address it, the better. I mean, I think with that you can go with like abuse. Was there abuse done? I mean, there's so many different things that you can add with that.
Well,
is there a problem?
an abusive spirit in the relationship is what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're saying address it early.
Yeah, they're saying address it, or if that person was raised around and abuse is a norm to them or something, then we need to talk about that. We need to talk. But it was saying drug, alcohol, or gambling. Are there any kind of issues? All of these things need to be talked about.
Yeah, and the thing is it's subjective. Like where your line is drawn is subjective, meaning one person might think, oh, going to the casino every night is okay,
right? But
the other person might be like, so when does it rise to the level of a problem?
No doubt.
I would say if there's an uneasiness to your spirit when dealing with the other person about it, you need to talk about it.
Right.
So if it starts to cause you concern, or if it starts to be a source of distrust on either side, because I know I've heard stories of couples waking up and their whole savings account being cleaned out by the other partner.
Wow.
Behind an issue that they didn't address early on.
Wow.
Just because they put their head. Don't put your head in the sand.
Right.
Don't be an ostrich. Don't ignore a red flag in those areas.
Right.
Because if it's not easy with your spirit, then you need to talk about it and see if you can handle it. And if the other person's not willing to own up to it, then you got to make some hard decisions about moving on.
Which leads us to the next one, and I see you naming. We'll get to that. How do we handle conflict? We'll get to that most definitely. So I'm going to skip to 5 because I think it kind of connects with that, and it is, how compatible are you financially? Right? Ooh. Be honest about different attitudes and how they will be resolved. So let's just be transparent and extremely open. Our finance and money language was on two opposite sides of the stratosphere when we first got together. And so kind of going back to the question that Naaman asked is how that could have been a subject of conflict. And it was sort of early on. It definitely, we had to have some real sit down, knock them out, drag them out, heart to heart conversations about money and how we handle it. And so the best thing is, I had to go back and talk about like where I came from, how I was raised.
We know each other's money story.
Yeah.
So I think I would say the first thing about Naaman's question is, if you can't handle a conflict that you don't see as a conflict.
Wow.
Because sometimes people be like, no, we're fine in that area. What are you talking about? But, and one person be like, well, what page are you on?
Right.
Like, we're not fine. We're not okay. And here's why. So I think the best thing is that you have to agree that this is something that needs to be healed within the relationship.
But
right?
isn't that the thing, like with gambling and all that you hear people saying, like Alcoholics Anonymous and all of that? They say the first thing is for you to acknowledge that there actually is a problem.
Right.
And I think if you're in a relationship with someone and it's heated and there's tension all the time around certain subject matters, and you just keep walking by it as if, and the worst thing you can do is to, let's keep it real, just go have sex. You know what I mean? Something like that. And then now y'all are heated and bothered and laid out and sleep and feeling good, but the conflict has not been addressed.
The sex is just a coping mechanism.
The sex is just a coping mechanism. Or you can just go hang out. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let's go just have a drink, or let's go party, or let's go hang with our friends. But the conflict still remains. So in the back of either her mind or your mind, or maybe in both of your mind, this conflict is still there, and we have yet to fully address it.
So that's why you have to, when we say plan for the times that you're going to need the conflict rules, one rule that we would put in place is, if somebody's not comfortable with something, they should have a safe space to be able to say, this is something we need to work through.
Right.
This is an issue for me.
Right.
Now you also put a rule in of, don't do that in front of my boys or my girls. Don't do it while let's have it be a time appropriate conversation. And yes, we get snippy at one another, especially when we're in our comfort zone. But there is the ability to be like, okay, go back to our corners. We'll deal with this at a more appropriate time, or when we're ready to be healthy.
No doubt.
So catching yourself in the moment when it does go a little too far, where you let words go, and then saying, this is how we're going to deal with conflict. One, will address it, and even if one person doesn't see it, it doesn't matter. If it's real for you, it's real for us, right?
And you got to know your person's language and how you address the person you're with. That's why it's so important that you don't get into these serious relationships, moving in and marriage and being engaged and all that without really knowing the person that you're with, spending some time with them. Because if you go too early, you won't really know their language. And then you're always asking for forgiveness because you're always offending them. But if you can get to a place where you start to know their language, then you can kind of start speaking their language, right? Start talking their language and going. And listen, although we do relationship and life coaching and all that, do we have disagreements? We absolutely have disagreements. We be ready to kick each other down the stairs and knock each other out and all of these things. But what I will say and what I do love about our relationship is we are going to talk about it, man. And sometimes that might go to sleep. Like we're going to go through session 1 the first day, and we may end up going to sleep, have to get up, go to work the next day, come back the next day, get some time. Session 2, go back to sleep, go back the next day, session 3. But we're making ground with each session. How long that, and it may take you a week or two to really get to the bottom of it all and really get there and really be able to get to some resolve. But don't stop. The both of you don't stop until you get that resolve.
That's where you can't be lazy in your relationship.
No doubt.
If somebody is lazy, then basically one person's gonna be pulling the weight for everybody.
No doubt. And my Auntie Pam said, just keep going. It'll get better. Just don't give up on each other. And I think right now in America, and listen, I've been guilty of it. We give up too soon. We give up too soon, and we're like, hey, I can get a divorce. Or, hey, if I'm not divorced, if we're just dating, I can leave. I can go get somebody else or this or that. But you don't want to take those lazy habits from relationship to relationship, all right? You want to be dedicated, you want to be dutiful, and you want to make sure that you really exhaust all options in the things that you do, all right? The next one on here was, how are you with each other's families? I really like this one. Okay. How are you with each other's families? Take any early tensions as an opportunity for practice. How are you with each other's families? But if you really know your family ain't going to really like him or her, you ain't going to take them around your family. So you really won't know.
Well, and that's a litmus test, because there early on, there were relationships that I had, and I realized, well, why am I not taking them around my family?
Not?
Then
well,
I already knew that something wasn't right about it. Something was not right about it, or I didn't feel confident about it. So that is a key. Now, if you don't believe your family is healthy, or if there's something going on with your family, that's different. But I'm talking about even the friends that you call family, or whoever your support system is.
I like that. That's great. I like that. Your circle of trust, right?
Right.
Your significant other should be able to be brought around your circle of trust. Because you're right, some people come from just really dysfunctional and unhealthy families. So you're like, man, I wouldn't bring my dog around here. My dog is going to spiritually feel this negativity. But, well, who is your circle of trust, or that person you trust? You should most certainly be able to bring your significant other around them. I like that.
And here's the thing. If the person you're dating, they don't take you around their family, they don't take you around their friends, they don't have friends, they don't have the ability to maintain relationship, that is a red flag. They don't have one person from their past that they were able to keep up with.
Wow.
I have been to a wedding, I won't say a name, of somebody I love, and that the person they were marrying had no family on their side.
Wow.
Sitting
So
on their side.
All the family was from the one person was on the
all the family was our family, and on the other side I didn't see one family member. And do you know what? That person was basically kind of taken away from our family, because the person they coupled up with didn't value family.
So hey, it's a conversation you must have. It's a conversation you must listen. I have a few people in my life. You was around the people, my circle very fast. Because I had to let them see, and
they was filling me out too.
They was filling you out. She was being vetted and didn't even know it. So no doubt. So next one. What about kids? What about children? How do you feel about that? Learn each other's preferences and how flexible you are. Can you have children? Did you have procedures that won't allow you? Were you in something physically an accident or something that won't allow you? You need to be honest about that. These are the things you really do. You want children? Do you just loathe children? I mean, whatever it is. Like when I was younger, I would always say I was going to have 2 or 3 children. And as I started getting older and a little bit older, I was like, well, I'm cool. If I have children, I'm not. If I do, it's a blessing. And now I have 2 beautiful children that I love and I adore, and just, they're my world. So, well, we talked about that though. It wasn't no, and it cracks me up that I never understand how a child can be a surprise. I mean, I guess I can understand how, well, if you laying down with somebody, if you're having sex, then there's a possibility that you can have a child, unless the doctors told you,
I got you.
Unless the doctor show you. You hear people say, we weren't trying to have no more kids. Really?
Okay, I got you.
You're not really?
Yeah.
Wait, were you really not trying to have kids? Because if you were doing the things that it takes to have kids without protecting yourself, or somebody taking something, then there's a possibility you were going to have kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you should talk about those things.
Yeah, and today we have a lot of blended families too. I come from a blended family on both sides because both of my parents remarried, and I think I value the partners that they chose, but I also value that it was clear to me that there were conversations early on about who would discipline who, how different things would be communicated.
Yeah.
So I think that you absolutely have to discuss things when you're blending your families. And then, and I agree with you that you need to know when you're dating early on or in a situation where you're about to be married, like what is our appetite around children?
Right.
If you're of childbearing age.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because if you don't, and if you both agree, and I knew a couple, man, they were like, no, they were married for like 45 years. And I was like, why didn't you guys have children? They said, baby, we decided early on we didn't want them. We had these jobs. We wanted to travel. We wanted to do this, that. And they had it laid out. And I couldn't do nothing but respect that. Now, for both of them, you're looking at them like, man, they would have been amazing parents, right? They had godchildren, they had nieces and nephews, and they spent time with those children. But when it was time for them to go do their thing, they was able to give those children back. So, but they talked about it. They talked about it and had peace around it. So
there you go.
We need to talk about those things. Next on our list is, who wants more free and alone time? Different needs can't be met if they are never discussed. This is important, y'all. Different needs can't be met if they are never discussed. Who wants more free and alone time? Are you a person that's kind of what do you call an introvert? That every once in a while you may have those moments where you just want to be alone and you want to be by yourself. And you need to talk about that. I respect
that about my husband early on because I can have a demanding social calendar.
Yes.
And I had to know that it's okay if he just want to be home watching the game.
Right.
And I'd be like, is something wrong at first? But then I got to know, and we talked about it early on. He told me I'm a loner.
Yeah.
So people will tell you, are you listening? So, and if you're a social person with a loner and vice versa, you need to discuss are you okay? Because I have my sorority events. I have my church events. I have my family events. I have my girlfriends. Are you okay with me maintaining those relationships? I'm not going to be out every weekend, but do you understand? So it's really about understanding each person's social appetite and then respecting it. And not wanting to change to the extent that you're willing to. And sometimes there's going to be things like, don't send me to a wedding alone.
Right.
And ladies, your husband should be going to every event without you. Now, there is a point where you can open up some doors of temptation and vulnerability.
No doubt.
Always not pushing yourself to be in the other person's comfort zone. You know what I mean? You do have to find common ground without changing one another.
And Tasha said that's hard because she's too social. That was you first on. That was you. I mean, it still can be you sometimes. That Scorpio side of me, I like my alone time. I just want to just be me, do me, and get by myself. But we talked about that. We really had those discussions. And at first, there were some bumps with it because she like, wait a minute now, you don't want to be around my family. Is there a problem? You don't want to be doing this? I'm just like, girl, your calendar is full. You got 2 events every day.
Yeah,
I just
I
want
had
to
to
be.
dial it back.
I just want
I
to
had
be
to dial
with
it back.
me, or let's just do us in this situation. Or I'd be like, go ahead and go, and I didn't have no problem. And so then I also wasn't calling her like, get home, you got to be here. I knew who she was. I wanted to be alone, so I had my time, and that's what I did. And so, but we had to. Once again, it goes back to that word communication, right?
Yeah.
And what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, it moves past communication into reciprocation.
Yes.
If you put
Yes.
it out there,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Or if you're demanding it, then you must also be able to provide it. Don't just demand it if you're not able to provide it. So reciprocation and communication, as we've just learned in these last 3 weeks, really work hand in hand.
Yeah.
Right?
And we've gotten to the point where I'll be like, okay, if I know I have something every weekend, we'll say, okay, what we got scheduled, we'll go over our schedule for the week. But if I know I have something every weekend, I need to prioritize what's the 1 or 2 I really want him at with.
There it is. There it is.
You know, I'm not going to put that on him. But it also
especially
helps.
during football season.
Yeah. If the Wolverines is on or the Eagles, then I just got to stay home, you know?
Yep.
But it helped to temper me too.
No doubt.
But if we hadn't talked about it, it would have been a conflict.
It would have definitely been a
you
conflict.
know,
Would have
it should
definitely
be
been a problem. Number 7, how should chores be divided? Come up with a comfortable division. Revisit regularly. So this is saying chores, but this
Regularly.
is just as all, you know, things around the house. How are we going to maintain our house, our apartment, whatever it is you let, our living arrangements? How are we going to maintain? Who's going to take care of this? Who's going to take care of that? You know, like, unless she's out by herself, you know, I will, it was already like kind of talked about and understood in the beginning. Like, you know, I'll take out the trash, and I will, make sure I keep the cars washed and put gas in them unless you're out and it gets low by itself. Those are some of the things that we, had already addressed early on.
Like he washes his clothes, I wash mine.
No doubt.
I do tend to wash the children's, but it's like there are certain things and if you need more help, like I do more of the cooking, but he will too.
Wait, finish that and let me say, for the fellas to the women, if you need more help, say that.
Yes.
Right? Say that. We've been together now for a little while. 13 years. We can, you know, I can finish her sentences. She can finish mine sometimes. But don't always assume. Don't put that pressure on us, ladies. If you need it, say it. Don't assume that I'm going to read your mind. I'm not Miss Cleo.
Right.
Just tell me what's going on with you.
And that's a key point.
And explain it and tell me how you feel, how that make you feel. And I'm going to listen. All right. And let's find some ground, right?
It's a known fact that whether it's said or not, because a lot of women or the particular partner, I won't even just put it on just women. I'll say the more particular partner, it may be, it's just a phenomenon that a lot of the house stuff falls on the women.
Right.
And a lot of it is not, it can go unnoticed until she's completely out of commission.
Yeah.
Like I think when there's been a few times in our relationship where I have been unable to do things, right? And you gave me props. You was like, babe, it's a lot more. Oh
yeah. You got sick one time and there was not much you could do. You had to really rest, and so I had to handle it, right?
Like doing, you know, being responsible for the girl's hair, or
Lord.
You know, making sure clothes are picked out or things for school, just planning ahead.
Tasha, I need some training on doing lyrics hair. I still ain't got that part down yet. Yeah, no doubt. And y'all gonna quit clowning my Eagles on this thing live. I see y'all.
Oh, we
but yeah, so the next one, chores. Oh, number 8. Can you talk about sex? Man, can you really, really talk about it? What are we bringing to the table? Is it we don't want no entanglements, or maybe we like entanglements? I mean, I don't know. What is it that you like? I mean, are we swinging from chandeliers, or are we not? Are you a chandelier swinger, or are you not? I mean, we need to know. I need to know every once in a while if that's what you like. That's what we doing. Let me know.
And we regularly talk about, like, is everything okay in this area?
No doubt.
No, understand your appetite. Understand if you someone that likes to have it a lot or don't. Like, if you just please check in. Don't assume everything's okay.
No doubt. No doubt. And that's how sometimes people, and listen, we're not saying that it's right, but it's reality, right? We're not saying that it's right and that it's fair. That's how people step out sometimes. Check in. Talk about it. What's going on? What would you like me to do more? What would you like me to do less? I mean, you really need to go through and talk about all areas.
Zone. It can't be. You can't get offended in
you
this
can't,
zone.
Yeah, you can't get
if
offended,
you be like,
man.
well, I need you to, spice it up. Then you ask. We can't ask a question and not want to hear the honest answer.
And that's a funny thing, because sometimes you ask a question to your significant other and they like, you really don't want to know my answer to this question.
Right.
Because I know you and my answer is going to have you all in your feelings. So when you ask, be ready to receive whatever that answer is, right? So whatever that may be. So can you talk about sex? And then the last one on the list is, do you hope they will change? This is one of the biggest. These are not in order of importance. They're just on here, right? Don't expect a transformation. Marrying means taking them as they are. So a lot of people date and get engaged and say, I'm going to change him or I'm going to change her if I put a ring on it.
Oh, yeah.
That is the farthest from the truth. That's the farthest from reality. If it's who they are in just boyfriend and girlfriend stage, that's most likely who they're going to be in marriage or engagement stage.
That's true.
They might even be more of it because they're like, hey, I'm in now, I'm good, I got somebody, she wearing my last name, or we own each other's insurance, or yeah, we living together now, whatever it is. So I'm going to really be me now, and they need to accept it. So I think don't expect just going down an aisle to make a person change. That's not fair. And don't set out to do that. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not reality. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some people that feel that with marriage comes different responsibilities. But man, you need to be talking about that and
early and often.
The only thing that really probably should be changing, if you are a person that believes in like abstinence or something like that, then that would change, right? Until you get married. Kudos. More power to you. If that's where you are, do it. Stick to it. Be disciplined.
And we're not talking about, don't mistake change for evolution. Like, you will evolve. Your significant other will evolve. There will be natural changes amongst you. But I can't put an expectation of that something is going to be anything other than what I see going in.
No doubt.
I mean, one thing my uncle Alvin would always say is, accept all things as they are. So if you can go in knowing if nothing else changes, we can ride this out till the wheels fall off, then you're good. But if you're thinking that something significant is going to be different, then you have an unrealistic expectation and a conflict you need to work through ahead of time before it becomes a what do they call that? A deal breaker later.
Deal breaker, yeah. It's definitely not fair to him or to her. And so many people have gone into being engaged or getting married feeling like, oh yeah, I got a ring, now he's going to change. He's going to be better.
Right.
He's going to love me
children,
more.
Or we have children.
Yeah, we're going to be more.
This house together.
Yeah, we're going to be more intimate. Our financial conflicts are going to just automatically disappear. No, they're going to be there just as big as they've ever been. Sometimes even more, because now there is responsibility. There's insurance. There's credit scores. There's all this stuff involved.
That adds stress and tension.
That adds stress to your life. Kids, all of these things, right? House breaking down, all of this stuff that adds stress. And so you don't want to do that. And I think last but not least, I think you really need to talk about your spiritual foundation. And and what I mean by that is, so we both believe in God, we both go to church, we both pray, we both meditate. But let's say if you're a person that's in a relationship with somebody that doesn't necessarily believe in God, but what is it that you do? What practices that you take upon to ground you, to keep you grounded, that allows you to come back to you when stress hits, when life hits, when conflict, when whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever's going on, things that can kind of knock you off your square. What are the practices that you do? You need to talk to your significant other about those practices. And you need to find some place, some way, some area that you can do those things together. We're in church. We're praying. We're meditating. And we know when things That's the first thing we're doing. When
And
things
this.
are off rocker, right? We're going there first. We're looking and seeing, okay, what's going on? Let's get back on our foundation. Let's get back to our square. Whatever it is, let's get there first and get grounded. Then we operate from there. We operate from prayer out. You know what I'm saying? That's how we do it. That's how we handle that when things aren't right. And you can't allow too many people in your business. You can't allow too many people speaking over your marriage and over your relationships. And you should always, always, always find you somebody that is doing pretty good that you both can go to together. Together. She's going to have her girls that she talks to, or her mom, or whoever, or her sister by herself. I'm going to have my boys that I talk to by myself. But when it's time for conflict resolution and we can't handle it, we need to go to somebody or some people, a group of people together so that they can hear both sides of the story.
I like to call, in the law, they call that no ex parte communication.
You give us some attorney jargon. What's that mean?
You just can't have one-off, one-sided.
One side. And a lot of times that's what happens. Because I'm going to go in and tell my side. I most certainly am not going to tell her side. Or I'm going to tell everything she did wrong. I most certainly ain't going to tell what I did wrong, right?
Right.
And vice versa, you know. And so, or I'm a spin it to make it look like I'm good. I did it. We just do, it's kind of human nature, you know. So we got to make sure that we go together. There are younger couples that we talk to, that we've married or something like that. When one calls, we like, no, okay, this is serious. If it's just something small, little, they want, hey man, I'm doing this, yeah. But if both of you get her on the phone, we'll set a time. I'll find out my wife. We want to talk to the both of you because we need to hear both sides because there's usually two sides and then the truth, usually, right?
Yeah.
So let's go back to them. So first and foremost, what is your spiritual foundation? If it's religious, if it's God, if you don't believe in God, what do you do to ground you? What practices do you do to ground you? You need to talk about that. How do you handle conflict? Are there any drug, alcohol, or gambling problems? Any kind of problems? Abuse? Are there any problems we need to talk about? What do you feel about kids? What do you feel about each other's families? Or how are you around each other's families? Are you compatible enough with your finances? Can you talk about it? What is your financial language? Who wants more free and alone time? How should chores or the housework be divided and handled? Can you talk about sex? And then last but not least, do you hope they will change? Do you hope that person will change? So that's actually 10. So 10 things you should talk about when you're considering this person to be
a permanent life partner,
your significant other, whether it be for a short time or a long time, whatever it is that you're thinking in your mind, you need to talk about it. Especially if you're having sex with that person. All right, especially you need to talk about a lot of these things because we swap energy, just like you swapping saliva and spit. You also swapping energy. And you have to be careful and mindful of the people that you swap energy with.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah. What you letting in and what you giving out.
What you giving out. We love y'all.
Follow us at the CoreofU, letter U, the Core of You on Instagram and YouTube, as well as on Facebook. We're coming to you now from Kenneth Page's Facebook page, and just stay in touch. Keep pushing us. We'll keep pushing you. Let us know what you want to talk about.
No doubt. We'll take y'all out. Shout out to my sister Danielle Page for her song, A New Day. A New Day. Wifey sent me a song today. What's the song?
Oh, Entrepreneur. I think that's by Pharrell and Jay-Z, right?
Pharrell and Jay-Z have a song out called Entrepreneur. If you haven't heard it or saw the video, go check it out.
You gotta watch the video.
You gotta really watch the video because they're really pushing and talking about Black entrepreneurship. It's amazing.
Yeah,
check it out. Check it out. We're going to take y'all out a little bit with our song, but we holler at y'all next week. Same time, same channel from the CoreofU. CoreofU, peace.
Early in the morning, not worry about tomorrow, 'cause I know that it's a brand new day. Started making
Have a good weekend.